What's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today doing a Raidraptor deck profile. So I'm really excited to do this for you guys because this deck is crazy now that we finally have the support out of Phantom Nightmare, taking this deck to a whole new level because of all the really cool new cards, even giving us a new boss monster, Rising Rebellion Falcon, which is such an amazing boss monster and so cool to be able to summon. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards. Like your name, description, every single video, getting a signed cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month to your Patreon. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Tribute Lanius. This card is definitely a 3 of in the deck, and is basically full combo on its own, making it a 1-card combo. This card has the ability during the main phase, if it's normal or special summoned, you can send a Raidraptor card from your deck to the graveyard, meaning this card is a walking Foolish Burial to send your copy of Mimicry Lanius from your deck to the graveyard, so you can search any Raidraptor monster you want off of Mimicry's effect, which is so important for the deck. We then play 3 copies of Bloom Vulture. Bloom Vulture is probably one of the most important support cards we got out of Phantom Nightmare, because this card has the ability, if you do not control any face-up monsters other than Winged Beast, then you can special summon both this card and a Raidraptor monster from your hand. And if you control no monsters, you can target 2 level 4 or lower Raidraptor monsters in your graveyard, including this card, and special summon them both in defense position, giving you some insane abilities to get you multiple monsters on your side of the field, which is absolutely crazy. This card is basically going to step you into your copies of your rank 4s, and it's just so important in the deck to help you get 2 monsters on the field. We then play 3 copies of Stranglelanius. This card is really good as an extender in the deck, and is really important for the build as a 3-up, is if you control a dark monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. Also, it locks you into dark monsters for the turn, which is totally fine, because that's all we're summoning in this build. This card also has the ability, if you control an XZ monster with a dark XZ monster as a material, then it's a Monster Reborn for a Raidraptor monster. It's a level 4 or lower, which is really cool. We then play 3 copies of Raider's Wing. Raider's Wing is awesome as an extender and also gives an XZ monster a really cool protection effect if it's used as a material, that your opponent cannot target this card with card effects if this card is used as a material under that XZ monster, which is really cool. And if this card is in your hand or grave, you can detach a material from a dark XZ monster to special summon this card, but banish when it leaves the field. But if it's attached as an XZ material and it's detached, it goes back to the graveyard because it technically wasn't on the field, which is really cool about this card. But this card is always treated as a Phantom Knight and a Raidraptor card as well, which is super cool about this card. We then play 3 copies of Fuzzy Lanius. Fuzzy is actually one of my favorite Raidraptor monsters, and I love that you can finally play this card again in the deck when you play the pure version. And this card is really cool because if you control a Raidraptor monster other than a copy of Fuzzy Lanius, you can special summon this card from your hand, and if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can add another copy of Fuzzy Lanius from your deck to your hand, which is an amazing ability about this card, but it does lock you into summoning out Raidraptors, which is not that big of a deal. And it's not this card is just insane as an extender in the build, and it's just really cool because you cannot special summon monsters the turn you activate either of this card's effect except Raidraptors, but that's totally fine because in this build, that's all we're summoning. We then play 2 copies of Mimicry Lanius. I feel like 2 is the correct number for this card because of your copy of Tribute Lanius, because if you do open up this card, you're forced to normal summon it out or get it to the graveyard in some other means. But this card is great because the turn it's sent to the graveyard, you can banish it to search another Raidraptor, which is just really cool. You don't want to open this card, but if you have an extender plus this card, you can still pull it off, but I feel like 2 is just better than 1. We then play 2 copies of Noir Lanius. Noir Lanius is really good as a 2 of in the build because this card has the ability during your main phase, if this card is normal or special summoned this turn, you can target a Raidraptor monster you control and add a Raidraptor monster with a different level than that monster from your deck to your hand, which is cool because we actually play a copy of Heal Eagle, so we can actually search a card from our deck off this card's ability, but it also has the ability you can banish this card from your graveyard to increase or decrease the level of all Raidraptor monsters you currently control by 1, which is a pretty cool ability about this card. We also have a second target in the deck, which is going to be Pain Lanius, but usually you're searching out Heal Eagle off this card's ability. We then play one copy of the original Vanishing Lanius. I really like this card as a one-of in the build, because it has the ability once per turn during your main phase. If this card is normally special summoned this turn, you can special summon one level 4 lower Raidraptor from your hand, which is a pretty cool ability just to extend your plays. I like this card as a one-of in the build because it's one of the original Raidraptor cards. We then play a single copy of Heel Eagle. Heel Eagle is good as a one-of in the deck, because if all monsters you control are Raidraptor monsters, then you can special summon this card from your hand, and you can also banish this card in the grave to be able to target a Raidraptor spell or trap in the grave and add it back to your hand, which is a great effect to be able to use, but what you're usually using this card for is to link summon, which is really cool about this card. We then play a single copy of Pain Lanius. Pain Lanius is great as a one-of in the deck because this card can actually copy the level of another monster, and it's a really good extender in the deck to be able to use in this build, which is why I play this card in the deck. But it has the ability, if this card is in your hand, you can target a Raidraptor monster you control that has a level, and you take damage equal to its attack or defense, whichever is lower, but you choose if it's a tie. And if you do, special summon this card, and if you do that, this card's level becomes the level of the current level of the targeted monster, meaning it's probably going to become a level 4. We then play 3 copies of Smorg Bird of Perfection. Smorg Bird of Perfection is just a great extender in the build, which is why we play this card as a 3-of in the deck, is it just gets you an additional level 4 Winged Beast on your side of the field, because during your main phase, if you normally special summon a Winged Beast monster, you're going to reveal this card in your hand and immediately let effect results. You get to normal summon a Smorg monster, meaning this card, to your side of the field, which is why we play this card in the build. We then play 3 copies of Ash Blossom. Ash Blossom is definitely a 3-of in the build, just to stop your opponent from basically touching the deck. We play 3 copies of Droll and Lockbird. Droll and Lockbird is really good as a 3-of in the deck as well, because this card basically stops your opponent from searching for the rest of the turn. We then play 3 copies of Nibiru, because we can easily out Nibiru tokens, and this card is really good in the deck to be able to use, because it just helps out a lot overall to break your opponent's board, and plus it's really impactful this format. So that's it for the monsters, guys. I know it's a lot of monsters, but let's get into the spells. That is a lot of monsters. So for the spells, guys, we're going to start with a single copy of Foolish Burial. Foolish Burial is very important in the deck as a one-of, because this card is basically full combo for the deck, because you can send your copy of Mimicry from your deck to the graveyard to be able to go off with your plays, which is amazing. This card is pretty much Rhoda for the deck. We then play a single copy of Raidraptor Roost. Roost is amazing in this build as a one-of, because this card is searchable in the deck, and if a Raidraptor monster is special summoned from your extract to your field, then you can actually add a Raidraptor spell trap from your deck to your hand, except for the copy of this card. It also lets you target 3 of your Raidraptor monsters that are banished or in your graveyard and place them on the bottom of the deck in any order and then draw a card, which is great to be able to recycle your resources. We then play for our rank up magics. We're going to be playing a single copy of Rank Up Magic Skip Force. This card lets you basically go up by 2 ranks, which is really cool to be able to do. I love that about this card, and it helps out a lot in the deck. Play a single copy of Rise Rank Up Magic Raidraptor's Force. This card is one of the most unique rank up magic spells I've ever seen in the game, because this card has the ability to, during your main phase or your opponent's battle phase, or during the main phase or your opponent's battle phase, target 2 or more Raidraptor XZ monsters that you control and or in your graveyard, including a monster on the field, and if at least 2 remain face up at resolution, special summon 1 Raidraptor XZ monster from your extract with a rank equal to their combined ranks, and if you do, attach the targeted monsters to it as material, which is a really cool effect because you can target multiple cards in the graveyard to be able to just summon out your copy of Rising Rebellion Falcon, which is so cool to be able to do, and this is actually how we summon out our copy of Rising Rebellion Falcon, which is really important about this deck. We then play a single copy of Phantom Knight's Rank Up Magic Force. Phantom Knight's Rank Up Magic Force is really cool as a one-of in the deck, just as a rank up magic spell, because during the main phase, you can banish 1 or more dark monsters from your graveyard and then target 1 dark XZ monster you control, and special summon from your extract 1 Phantom Knight, Raidraptor, or XZ Dragon XZ monster whose rank equals the number of monsters that were banished plus the rank of the monsters that you have to be able to XZ summon with, which is really cool to be able to do, is if you say have a level 4 or rank 4 on your side of the field and you banish 6 different monsters from the graveyard, you go 4 plus 6 and then you go up into a rank 10, which is really cool about this card, and I love it in the deck to help you just bring out other boss monsters to your side of the field. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So for the traps, we're going to start with a single copy of Raidraptor Glorious Bright. Glorious Bright is really good as a one-of in the build, and I love that they basically turn Ultimate Falcon's attack into a trap card, because if you control a Raidraptor monster, you can target one face-up monster that your opponent controls, or if you control a Raidraptor XZ monster, you can target a face-up card your opponent controls and negate that target's effects until the end of the turn. And you can also banish this card from your graveyard, and then target one of your Raidraptor monsters that is banished or in your graveyard and add it to your hand, which is a really cool ability. We then play 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. Impermanence is really good as a 3-of hand trap in the build, basically just to stop your opponent's monster effects and also lock down entire columns of spells and traps. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, guys, we're going to start off with 2 copies of Raidraptor Rising Rebellion Falcon. This card has one of the most epic names I've ever heard in Yu-Gi-Oh! But this card has a really cool ability that's actually a rank 13, which is one of the first rank 13s we've ever gotten in the game, and it's unaffected by all the card effects. That's the first effect on this card. This card has multiple effects, and it's crazy broken. It also has the ability, if this card is XZ summon, you destroy as many cards your opponent controls as possible. Then, if this card has 3 or more Raidraptor XZ monsters with different names as material, inflict damage to your opponent equal to the combined original attack of the destroyed monsters, not just one, but every single monster that your opponent put on the field, meaning this card can basically end a game on its own just by being summoned, which is crazy. And with the new rank up magic spell that you summon this card out with, it's very easy to use 3 different Raidraptors to make this card. This card also has a really cool ability once per turn. You can detach 3 materials from this card and then target a Raidraptor XZ monster in the graveyard, and this card gains that monster's ability until the end phase, and it doesn't lose any of its effects. It just gains an additional ability, which is insane. We still play a single copy of Ultimate Falcon. This card is really insane in the build, and you're going to be summoning it during combo, but this card is also unaffected by all their card effects, and it's actually one of my favorite boss monsters ever. This card is so cool to be able to summon. It does burn damage to your opponent. It basically drops your opponent's monster's attack points down, and it's very easy to summon during combo in this build. We then play a single copy of Satellite Cannon Falcon. This card is really good against back row decks, because if this card is XZ summoned by using a Raidraptor monster as a material, you can destroy all spells and traps your opponent controls, and your opponent cannot activate cards or effects in response to this card's activation, meaning it's a speed spell for Harpy's Feather Duster. And during either player's turn, you can detach a material on this card and target a face a card your opponent controls, and it loses 8 in attack for each Raidraptor monster in the graveyard, so it's usually going to drop to 0. We then play a single copy of Arsenal Falcon. Arsenal Falcon's insane. This card has the ability once per turn you can detach a material from this card, special summon a level 4 Winged Beast monster from your deck, and if this card has any number of Raidraptor monsters as material, it can attack that many times during each battle phase. And if this card is sent to the graveyard while it has a Raidraptor monster as material, then you can special summon a Raidraptor XZ from your X deck, except another copy of Arsenal Falcon if you do attach this card from the graveyard to that monster as a material, which is usually how I summon out Ultimate Falcon in this build, by linking this card away and then summoning out Ultimate Falcon by attaching it as material. We did play a single copy of Brave Strix. Brave Strix is really good in the deck, and a really easy way to make this card is with Raider's Knight. But this card is really good because a Raidraptor monster that has this card as a material gains the ability that this card gains attack equal to its rank times 100. So you can use this card as a material with your new rank up magic spell to summon out Rising Rebellion, meaning your copy of Rising Rebellion is going to go up to 53, which is crazy big. This card also has the ability that you can only use one of the following effects of it per turn, and you can detach a material from this card to set a Raidraptor spell or trap from your deck, and if it has a Winged Beast monster as a material, you can detach a material to add a rank up magic spell from your deck to your hand, meaning you can grab basically anything that you need that's a spell and trap off this card's ability. We then play a single copy of Arc Rebellion. Arc Rebellion is basically Cold Wave and an OTK machine. This card has the ability when you detach a material from this card, it gains the attack of all monsters on the field, which is just really good. It negates the effect of all face-up cards on the field that are monsters, and it's the only monster that can attack, but it gets huge to be able to OTK. We then played 2 copies of Raider's Knight. Raider's Knight is amazing in this deck as a 2-of because you just detach a material from this card, and then it has the ability that you get to special summon 1 Phantom Knight, Raidraptor, or XZ Dragon monster. It's 1 rank higher than this card, but this card is actually your starter now because you summon out this, and then you detach a material from this, and then summon out your copy of Brave Strix to be able to get your search, which is really cool to be able to do, like a Skip Force, and then go from this into your copy of Arsenal Falcon using the Skip Force that you searched off of this, and then you summon out whatever you want, and then go into Y Strix, and then summon out Ultimate Falcon, and just snowballs from there. But it's just really cool to be able to use this card because any 2 level 4s basically get you to Ultimate Falcon now because of this and your copy of your Skip Force, which is just so cool to be able to do. We then play 3 copies of Force Strix. Force Strix is so important for the deck because this card has the ability that you can detach a material on this card to add a level 4 Darkwing Beast monster from your deck to your hand, and this card can also get huge in the deck because it has the ability that it gains 500 attack and defense for each Wing Beast type monster that you control other than this card, and you can swarm the board with as many Wing Beasts as possible, which is really cool. We then play a single copy of Eosworn Nightmare. This card is really good to be able to make because it is a Book of Moon, which is great to be able to just throw this card on your side of the field. And you can use all other cards in this card slot, but I feel like this is one of the best cards to be able to play in this position because when your opponent special summons a monster, then you can actually detach a material on this card and then Book of Moon it, which is really good to be able to do. We then play 2 copies of Wise Strix. Wise Strix is so important as a 2-of in the build. You can drop the Evilsworn Nightmare if you want to for a 3rd copy of Wise Strix, but this card is really good, as if this card is Link Summon, you can special summon a level 4 Wing Beast monster from your deck in defense position, but negate its effects, and also it cannot be used as Link material, which is fine. And if your Raidraptor XZ monster effect is activated, you can set a rank up magic spell directly from your deck, and if it's a quick play spell, it can be activated this turn, which means you can set your new Rise rank up magic Raidraptor card, which means you can step into your copy of Rising Rebellion Falcon during your turn, which is insane. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. This deck is insane now. I'm so glad that we got support for Raidraptors. It's such a fun deck to play. It's one of my favorite decks to be able to play, especially now that we have Rising Rebellion Falcon, which makes me think of the old rank 4 that we used to play in this deck, which is Rise Falcon, which is so cool that it basically has the same name except it's a Rebellion Falcon now, which is amazing. I love this deck. All the support is cool, and I love that Tribute Lanius is a 1-card combo for this deck. So that's going to do it for this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can become part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.